For today's interview, we're talking with Professor Mangala Srinivas from Wageningen University Research. Mangala is working on a demo case to develop a polymer-based imaging agent for our project PHOENIX-OITB. So Mangala, thank you for joining us today. Sorry about me stumbling over my words. And I want to talk to you a little bit about your demo case, which is coming to an end as the PHOENIX project ends now. Can you explain a little bit in simple terms for non-experts like myself, what was this demo case about?
Well, let me start by saying it's actually not coming to an end because in large part due to the work that we did with PHOENIX, we're able to continue working on these imaging agents. So the imaging agents are nanoparticles, which are very small particles, less than a micron, in our case about 200 nanometers in diameter, that consist of a polymer, entrapping, and imaging agent. And the imaging agent itself is difficult because it's poorly soluble in most solvents. And this was a challenge we faced in making the nanoparticles stable and shelf stable as well, so we can store them, and also upscaling production. And that's, I think, where PHOENIX really helped us in being able to move from the small lab scale batches that we were making to the upscaled production that we can do now. So we worked most closely with my biotech and with Recent, which is in Austria.
So how, Mangala, did you come to this idea for this demo case?
Well, so I think it's more that we had a need to do something like this. So at the stage that we were before we joined PHOENIX, we had the nanoparticles, we had a lot of in vivo data in animal models, and some toxicity with cells and so on. But where we were getting stuck was the upscaling, and also, we're scientists, right? We're biologists, and for us to move into clinical testing, you need to have a lot of knowledge on pharmacology, on toxicology, and especially the regulatory requirements. And this is a whole field in itself. And that's where we were before we ran into PHOENIX. And I think that's why we joined it, because we thought this is a great opportunity to help us develop our nanoparticles from lab use to actual clinical use.
And I've heard that you have quite good results. Can you tell us a little bit about the results so far?
Well, we were very excited about the results because PHOENIX, in a way, is a very broad project. It helped us, as I said, with the upscaling and the regulatory filings that we needed to do. And actually, now we're in a position to move on to clinical testing. And that's exactly what we wanted. And in fact, because of the research that we did within PHOENIX, we've also been able to apply for additional funding, some of it with partners in PHOENIX, some of it also with partners in PHOENIX, and we will be starting a clinical trial based on this using the nanoparticles as made in this project. In terms of the scientific results, apart from the production and everything, we also have a lot of data now on what the particles do inside cells, how it affects cell metabolism. And that's also been really interesting.
Well, that sounds really great. So as you continue in this future project and continue to develop, what do you hope the long-term impact is going to be?
Well, the whole reason I started working with these nanoparticles was to develop an imaging technique to track cells in the body. And this is really important because our cells, especially immune cells, need to move. And it's quite amazing, really, how little we understand about this very fundamental process in biology. And being able to image cells, meaning that you can see where the cells go in the body without any invasive techniques like taking biopsies or cutting open, is really essential for this. So the nanoparticles that we developed in part with PHOENIX allow us to image the cells in the body using a completely painless and non-invasive technique, which is magnetic resonance imaging. So MRI is something that is used in the clinic already, and now we're going to apply it to clinical cell tracking. And this is it's really, well, from the scientific side, it's really interesting and it's really novel. And I hope it will give us a better understanding of what our immune cells are doing in the body. In particular, this is of importance now because of the rising interest in cellular therapeutics, so the use of cells themselves as therapy. And you might have heard of this in cancer, especially where we use genetically engineered T cells to treat patients. There is still a lot of lack of clarity or a lot of unknowns around these treatments, and it's not clear really how the cells behave in the body.
Well, that's really exciting. It sounds like it could have a huge impact in a lot of different areas. You decided to work with PHOENIX to develop this further. How did it make a difference to you working with the PHOENIX-OITB with multiple service providers coming through a single entry point? And how would that have been different if you were just looking for these services on your own?
Well, honestly, I think, at least speaking for myself, I would not have known where to start, or I would have had to find every provider individually, and that just makes it a lot more expensive and a lot less efficient. So having a single entry point like PHOENIX, where we can just go and there's all these different providers providing at least the standard services, that saved us a lot of time and money, and probably a lot of headache.
Yeah. And are there other companies or research groups that you think, what kind of companies or research groups do you think could most benefit from PHOENIX services?
Well, if you look at the nanotechnology field, I think nanotech is a little bit like the Wild West at the moment when it comes to regulatory guidance. There's a lot of ambiguity or uncertainty in how to deal with nanotechnology, and most of the people developing nanotech are either biologists or clinicians or chemists, and for them they just do not have the knowledge required to bring their ideas to the clinic, right? Or even if it is possible. So I would say that anybody working with imaging technology or nanotech would really benefit from a service like this.
That sounds great. Well, thank you so much for sharing your insights with us. And Mangala, I wish you tons of success with this in the future. We look forward to hearing about it.